Hi, I'm Jeremy, and Casey is upstairs already in the attic, and we are getting ready to paint the attic floor, third floor of our house. We've already got the second floor done, and we have a little more than enough paint we need to be able to finish that off. We'll have to get probably 2 more big buckets the rate that we're going, and we're using it a little bit to make texture, and that's probably why we're missing the coverage, but it sure is looking nice, and it is getting us a 1 coat coverage because we did do a heavy layer of primer as well. It's looking a little bit like fall for some of these poor maples. I think they've just had enough. This tree was fine until this 5 days of 100 to 105. That tree was too. It's going. This one was already going away. Sort of sad, but at the same time, I really hadn't liked that one anyway. Definitely too bad about the other two though. All right, we're up in the attic and we're getting paint on. This is definitely not an ideal time to be doing paint or prime in a hot space like this, but we're here in the morning this time. We're not up here in the afternoon, so even though it's the middle of this ridiculous heat wave that we've got going on, it's still going to be okay. This stuff is drying fast, so we do got to work really fast to make sure that we've got it rolled, because that's kind of our goal, is to back roll this paint on. It's not required for the paint like it was for the primer, but it's going to deliver the texture that we're trying to get on these walls. So back rolling is part of what we're doing here, and Casey's having to put extra paint on the roller instead of just relying on the paint that I'm putting on the walls as we spray it on. So we got to knock this out and get out of here while it's so hot.
I'm really useful for this part. I just reach up and grab it. It's an 8-foot ceiling. I don't know what the big deal is. This is going a little bit easier. It's a lot cooler right now. I mean, the sweat is actually enough to kind of make it reasonably pleasant in here versus, not enough to make it reasonably pleasant when it was 105.
Damien is carefully not to hit the walls. He's breaking all the little pieces of mud that got stuck. And I'm up with him in the attic, and we're getting all the plugs and switches done and plates put on so that this place is electrically safe up here at least. That's where plug power comes into the attic, is right there, and right down there is where the panel is, so that makes sense. And it tees off left and right from there, so that's got 3 wires in it. Nasty old box, at least it's not 4. Tried to avoid that. It's coming this way, and all the way around on this side. The left side of the box is always the line coming in, power, and the right side is always power going out, and so it makes it real easy. So I'm doing some prep ahead of doing a hardwood floor on our master suite of our house, and one of the things that I can tell you for sure is that never trust a shop vac of any quality, of any level of cleanliness on the filter, to get everything off the floor. So I just took a broom, just your standard broom, and all of that came out. And some of that was kind of right up against the wall where the vac was having a hard time, maybe even tucked underneath the drywall, but most of this material was just out in the middle of the floor, and the shop vac just didn't get it, didn't pick it up properly. this stuff has realistically been acclimating for quite a long time in this house. The boxes that they're in are, you know, the boxes, some of them were partially opened, and a lot of them, I mean, there's no plastic, so there is moisture exchange through the cardboard. So I'm not really worried about that. They did get a full day. I think that should work rather well. So subfloor prep has been completed, and right now we're at a part where we're essentially prepping for the first row. That's where I'm working on, and Casey is working on getting a pattern. So Casey's kind of working ahead of me, and then what we'll do is when I call for boards, she can help me pull them forward. We'll hit a row. Whenever I have to do a cut on the far end, that'll take me away, and then she can work on building out her pattern some more. And to start, you typically will make sure that you're off the ball a certain amount, and then you've got your support. This first board here, to make it aligned to where we want to be, we measured that edge and this edge, and then looking at this, they're not perfectly in place right now. What I determined was I wanted that shimmed, this side not so much, and we should be good. This Bellawood does call for 3/4 expansion, but typically boards expand that way. They don't really expand this way. And what I'm gonna do here is these boards, for most of this length of wall, they kind of slip underneath the drywall. And so what I'll probably do to make sure we have the proper expansion is I'm just gonna, once this is in, before I put in the trim, anywhere where there's not sufficient gap, I'm just gonna take oscillating multi-tool and just buzz that drywall slip off as needed. On the far end, you can see that the boards do slide underneath, and so long as, you know, we maintain, I think, realistically a 1/2 inch on both sides. They do say 3/4, but again, this is not new wood, and this is going to be a fairly climate controlled house. It's a very tight house, so there won't be a lot of expansion and contraction going on in these boards. So first of all, lights, ta-da, behind Casey, and these are dimmers. We're really excited about them. I'm super excited. So obviously this is a his and hers. We have the bed right here, and my side controls the future fan, you know, because Casey can't be trusted with that. But what we're looking at right now is she's selecting a long board that has a little ding in the finish. And we're gonna put that under the bed. And then that way we're not wasting a nice board. I don't really like ripping really, really long boards. And if it's under the bed, then that's good enough for us. At the first house we remodeled, we installed a wood floor. And Casey and I both managed to put a ding in the construction process in different parts. I put one in the stairs, and she put one while we were still installing, but in the field over on, what was it, dining room?
It was a dining room, yeah.
And so like we just got that, you know, that being precious about making sure it was perfect out of the way.
So we're gonna use this as our first ding.
That's right.
Oh, that's too much. I think that's also too much. Try to about set. That looks almost right. Try one more.
So when you're nailing down or gluing down the first row of hardwood, you have to get it straight, which usually for me just means that I straighten it out, making sure that it's actually 100% straight with the second row. And you either are going to glue it down or you're going to nail it down. And the only way you can really nail it down on the first row, if you're up against a wall, is to use a pin nailer. And what I'm doing here is essentially I'm shimming it so where it can't move, and then I'm going to be using just the regular hammer nailer for the flooring, and that way it will be just where it's supposed to be. And I can come back and I can put in just a, you know, small finish nails, pin nailer, all along the one side, where it's going to get covered up anyway by the baseboard.
a bit warm up here today. Bit warm, I'd say. Thank goodness for this little fan here at least. That's a plus. Still going. We've been at it for an hour and a half, maybe a little longer. But there's a bit of remembering involved. It's been a while since I've done this. So it's sanding day again in our house. And for us, that means first floor and up the stairway from the first to the second floor part way. Those are the things that we had not taken all the way through sand when we did the upstairs. And that's just a matter of, you know, we've got a ton of stuff stored in here. Construction supplies and, you know, some household stuff that we just had to put in here, which has resulted in a lot of moving things around, but it is what it is. Now we're getting to the first floor and we've already taken everything to level 4. And so now it's sand, and then we're going to look and see what we think. We may take the ceilings at least to a level 5, roll on some mud, and then use our skim trowel, our 36 inch or 32 inch, whatever it is, to, you know, basically smooth that out real nice and perfect. We do have a couple of spots in the ceiling that were butt joints because it's a large open area, and even using 12-inch sheets, you will obviously have some. Most everywhere else, very minimal butt joints, and those are kind of the main culprits. But I want to take you around the room here. We're in the living room. I have this one big light here that I'm using to cast some light because it's pretty dark with all the lights taken out of the ceiling. And I want to show you what I can of what I'm looking for now that I've done the 2 floors as I'm sanding, how I'm trying to get through quickly without taking off any more mud than I need to, and what the priorities are. So this is a good sideways light. I'd say we're at about a 45-degree angle, and you can really see a little shadow here. And that's something that you definitely want to have, is some light to guide you. And in this particular case, this is a outside corner. There's a couple of scratches in here, and we should have enough depth. So my goals are going to be 2 things here. I'm going to heavy sand with my pole sander right along the outside here. And that will take it from basically this to something a little bit more like this, where it's kind of cloudy looking and you can sort of see the drywall and sort of not. And then I'm going to try and get enough of the material off to remove these marks, these trowel marks. One of the areas that is consistently needing the most sanding are these outside corners, and up on top here, wherever you have a change in direction, parallel to perpendicular, vertical to horizontal, there tends to be this little tiny piece here. Let me show you. Right up in here, that spot, and in this case, right there, those tend to be really raised. And you can see, even though the light's not coming from the beneficial direction, I think you can really see that it's got some depth to those spots. So it's my goal with the pole sander is Casey's going to come through when I'm done, and she's going to use the block sander to get into the corners. I don't want to have her fighting with that little bitty tool where she doesn't have a whole lot of leverage other than what's in her arms. So I'm trying to get as close to that corner as I can, and I'm trying to get rid of those pieces. So all she has to do is check for lines in the corner where there was more mud built up on one side versus the other. And then that way it should go fairly quickly for her, because this pole sander is so much faster than the little hand blocks. It's been a terrific investment. I think it was about $45 plus another 15 or 20 for a 25 pack of 150 grit sander sheets. And it came with a 120 grit as well, which I used where I felt like I needed it in between the second and third coats. One thing I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get that corner beveled a little bit. So I'm hitting that at an angle and then coming back. Other things to note, again, what little light I have to work with, I move it around with me. This is the kitchen, and I know where I'm gonna be sitting here. So basically this area will be exposed, and below that is cabinet, and above that is cabinet. And so other than right next to the windows, potentially, like, you know, just past where the trim would be, like 3 inches out, 2 inches out, something like that. Other than that, I don't have to worry about any of this upper stuff. Not even really that corner. Casey's gonna go ahead and probably hit it. I will just be very light and quick. So I'm not worried about anything other than like really big, crusty stuff. You can see we've marked off here. That's the range cab, top, lower, upper cabinet top. And then obviously somewhere down in here is your countertop.
height on the wall. So this space I will sand carefully. Here from the second floor landing down to the first floor, that all needs done for the sand, the prime, and the paint. But up here, this is finished in this stairway. And so one thing I don't want is any dust fumes to come up. So I've just got a fan here stationed to blow air down that way. You need a smaller finger. Where's Damien when you need him? Not that he would be willing to do that. It's too muddy.
Oh yeah. Oh, my hands.
Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.